Welcome back to our San Jose State Dynasty. We wrapped up Season 1 last episode with a 12-2 season where we went on to win the Hawaii Bowl. After the offseason, we lost some of our players to the transfer portal, but had some surprise players who decided to stay. It's time to get ready for Season number 2, so let's meet the new look Spartans for this year. Adam Matthews is returning as our starting quarterback. After a strong showing last year, he was expected to transfer out, but is returning for his redshirt junior season. We lost Floyd Chalk IV to graduation, who was our key offensive player, and replacing him will be senior back Scottrey Humphrey, who we landed in the transfer portal. The wide receiver core looks almost the exact same as last season, with Matthew Coleman hoping to put up some better numbers in his senior year, and Leland Smith returning after his standout junior season for his last year of eligibility. The offensive line has also beefed up from last season, but we do have one redshirt freshman, Jordan Tonga, starting at center for us this season. Defense was hit hard for us in the offseason, mostly due to graduations, as we lost many key players from the squad in season number 1. A few notable starters to keep our eyes on is sophomore linebacker Mylon Robinson, who I think can develop into our defensive leader in the next few seasons. Peyton Bowen at strong safety is one of our few returning starters from last year's defense, but almost everyone else is first-year starters for the Spartans defense. Despite the heavy turnover, the Spartans were still projected to be a top 3 team in the conference along with Boise State and Fresno State, and the season opens up with our rivalry game at home against Stanford, and we get a conference championship rematch against Boise State in week 7. Recruiting is off to a hot start for Coach Jones and the Spartans, but we will touch more on individual prospects throughout the season. Without further ado, it is time to get down to the field and kick off season number 2 of the San Jose State Dynasty. Last year's matchup against Stanford was pretty close, and even though we lost, it was only a 7-point game. So with our team getting better from last season, I think we might have a chance to win this one. Faced with a 3rd and 6, our defense had a chance to get the Cardinals off the field, and we would do just that as Adam Matthews and the offense came out onto the field for the first time this season. This would be our first design play for the senior Scottrey Humphrey, who we got in the portal, and even though he couldn't pick up the first down, we would go right back to him on 3rd and 1 where he would be short. Coach Jones would keep the offense on the field, but we couldn't pick it up, and that is not how we wanted to start our first offensive possession of the season as Stanford takes over. That play would get them down into the red zone, where on play action Elijah Brown would connect with his receiver, who stretches for the goal line, and we were now down 7-0, looking to get that touchdown back here on the second possession. Just outside the 20-yard line now, and Adam Matthews would find Cooper Hawk, who would go into the end zone untouched, and now with under 3 minutes to go in the first half, had a chance to take a 2-possession lead. We couldn't pick up that first down, so Dennis Lynch would come out for a 51-yard field goal, and with 2 timeouts remaining and just over a minute to go, had a chance to extend the lead even more as this would be completed to Matthew Coleman. Then on 3rd and goal, Matthews would drop back to throw, and he would find Leland Smith in the end zone, and we would have a 10-point lead over Stanford headed into halftime. This game was far from over though, as Stanford would find the end zone on their first possession, and nothing else would happen in the 3rd quarter, as that is where this game would stay headed into the 4th. A touchdown on this drive would be huge for us as Scottrey Humphrey breaks off a 10-yard plus run, and with a fresh set of downs, what a pass here from Adam Matthews into that window. We were now facing a long 3rd and goal, as a field goal isn't going to help us much, and Coach Jones decided to stay aggressive as the offense stays on the field, and it pays off. That is exactly why we needed Adam Matthews to return to the team this year and not transfer in the offseason, as this 4th down play is going to be for the game as we bring the heat and get the sack. With only 2 timeouts left for Stanford, 1 first down is going to seal this game as Scottrey Humphrey gets it, and dear God, that is a thing of my nightmares. Adam Matthews would take a knee for the Spartans, and we would win our season opener against our rival, Stanford. Adam Matthews had a fantastic first game of the season for us, and I couldn't be happier with how this team played. It was time to take a look off the field though at recruiting, as our number 1 recruit on the board was 3-star gem tight end Dave Tuttle, and we were number 1 on his list and scheduled him for a visit against a game against Boise State. Some of our other top prospects on our board is 3-star gem wide receiver Caleb Cieslak, and we had 2 quarterbacks we were going after as well. Ryan Bloom, a 4-star quarterback competing with Stanford and Oregon, well, you know what team to choose, at least between us and Stanford after this last game, and 3-star quarterback Evan Bobo, who has us on the top of his list. We'll keep looking at some other recruits as well as the recruiting trail heats up throughout the season, but now it's time to change focus to our next game, which should be an easy win against FCS West. No surprise that our defense would come out strong and we would force a 3-and-out against the Titans. And now it's time for Adam Matthews and the offense to come out, who was looking to have another great day just like last week. Matthews threw for just under 250 yards and 3 touchdowns last game, and if the rest of the game was going to be like this first drive, it looked like he was going to have another great day. It wasn't even the end of the first quarter yet, and Matthews had already got us back down into the red zone again, where this time it would be the halfback John Denman getting us into the end zone. We were trying to run up the score as much as we could here in the first half against FCS West, and with 2 timeouts and under a minute to go, we had one last chance to do this as Adam Matthews would find Cooper Hawk, and it looks like we wouldn't need to use those timeouts, as we would have a 28-0 lead over FCS West headed into half. We wasted absolutely no time getting down the field on our first possession of the second half as Cooper Hawk would take this in for his second touchdown. And at this point, the game was getting extremely ugly as we would go up 42-0. FCS West finally had their first chance at points at the end of the third quarter. And with us being up so much at this point in the game, we now had true freshman quarterback Tama Amasone in the game for the Spartans. He's considered to be the next quarterback in line after Adam Matthews, and we may see him play even as early as next season for us. And off of just this drive alone, I really like what I'm seeing in potential from the freshman. That would be our last touchdown of the day as we would pick up the win. And once again, Adam Matthews had a fantastic game for us. Speaking of quarterbacks, it unfortunately looked like we probably weren't going to land Ryan Bloom, but for sure it looked like we were going to land Evan Bobo in our class. Our top 2 recruits were easily looking like they were going to sign with us, and hopefully a statement win here against our rivals Fresno State on the road will get them that much closer to signing the dotted line. We picked up the victory 31-17 last time we played the Bulldogs, so we'll see if that can be the case again today as we look to get off on a good foot here in conference play. Right around midfield now, we had a chance to get them off the field on a 3rd and 3, but that wasn't going to happen as they'd pick up the first down, but instead we would force a fumble and our defense would recover. And now it was our first chance for the offense today against the Bulldogs defense. It wouldn't take long for our offense to get down the field as the senior transfer Scotchery Humphrey would break off a big run here for us, getting the offense down to the 5-yard line where Leland Smith would finish this drive off for us. We had a chance to get one more defensive stand now in the first quarter as we'd come up with a big sack. And now starting at our own 25-yard line would give us a chance to go up 2 possessions here over Fresno State before the end of the first quarter. Adam Matthews, our junior quarterback, was once again off to a hot start today as he would feel the pressure and rolling to his left would complete this to Cooper Hawk. And what would be the last play of the first quarter was a 3rd and 8 for us, which we couldn't convert. Coach Jones didn't want to risk it and would send out the field goal unit for 3 points. And our kicker Dennis Lynch would put us up by 10, but now Fresno State was nearing field goal range. We would get the stop with that huge hit, but they would still manage to get 3 points out of this. And now we just had under 2 minutes to go to try to get some more points over them before half. Adam Matthews had been perfect on this drive so far for us as he was now over 100 yards on the day and looking to add some more to it as receiver Kyrie Scholes would get us down to the 15-yard line and counting. 2nd and goal now and from the 4 as Adam Matthews would find Cooper Hawk for a touchdown. And after a takeaway from our defense, we had a chance to get even more points here before halftime. Down at the 3 with only 5 seconds left, we weren't going to risk it as we would settle for 3 points. As we would head to halftime with a solid 20-3 lead over our rivals Fresno State. First drive of the second half, we were faced with a 4th down, but coach was keeping his foot on the gas pedal, but that is going to be an interception. And not only that, but it's going to be taken back for a pick 6. This game isn't over just yet as we need some extra points to keep our lead. But once again, we were faced with a 4th down and once again, we wouldn't get it. Our offense hasn't been able to execute when we needed them to and now needed a stop on 3rd and 15. And thankfully our defense would get it, but would need another one here on 4th down as that was knocked incomplete. This was great starting field position for the offense as we could put this game away with a touchdown. And we would do just that as Cooper Hawk would get the receiver pitch and would find the end zone for 6. Another touchdown on the board wasn't going to hurt anyone's stat line, as we would pick up the dominant win over our rivals Fresno State. Cooper Hawk had a fantastic receiving game for us on the day, and so did Adam Matthews, as it was yet another day with multiple touchdown throws and over 200 yards through the air. Despite that great win, we lost out on our first prospect of the season, but with as many as we had on the board, that was to be expected. We also scheduled a visit for one of our top recruits, receiver Caleb Cieslak, the Gem 3-star, who was going to be visiting the week of the Boise State game as well. Next week, we're looking to schedule visits for both our 3-star quarterback prospect Evan Bobo and 3-star right end Emmanuel House, who it looks like we're going to be in a recruiting battle with Cal for. We'll get to that when it comes though, as we have another non-conference matchup taking on Eastern Michigan on the road, who's currently 0-3 on the season. This should be an easy game for us, considering Eastern Michigan is one of the worst teams in the country, and it wasn't taking long for us to show how much better our offense was than the Eagles defense, as we were quickly getting down the field. First and goal now, as Adam Matthews would roll out to the left, and he would find the junior tight end Kamahu Kopa Kaolau, and man, is that a mouthful, as now our defense is looking to force a 3-and-out. We would do so, but after doing nothing on offense, Eastern Michigan would have the ball again, where our defense would come up with a big 4th down stop, giving us a 7-0 lead here at the second quarter. We were looking to hopefully change that, as on the very next play, Adam Matthews would find Matthew Coleman for a touchdown, and the great play from our redshirt junior quarterback was continuing. Now at the 2-minute warning, faced with a 3rd and 4, we were trying to score before halftime, and even with the clock still running, we still had all 3 timeouts to work with. Faced with a 3rd and 7 now, this could be the difference between a touchdown and a field goal before halftime, and the drive would stay alive for us, as Adam Matthews would find Matthew Coleman on a deep comeback route, resulting in a touchdown. And our senior receiver is having a much better year already than he did last year, as this pass is going to be overthrown and picked off by Hunter Nowell, and that will keep Eastern Michigan scoreless in the first half, as we head to the locker room up 21-0. Being up by 21, we should realistically kick this field goal, but screw that, we're going for it. We would pick it up, and just a couple plays later, it would be the freshman John Dunneman taking this into the end zone for us. And if our defense could get a stop here, we would have a shutout going against the Eagles headed into the 4th quarter. Unfortunately, that wasn't going to happen, but had another 3rd down, as this is going to be picked off by our defense yet again. This time it was Peyton Bowen for the defense getting the takeaway, as we would keep the offense on the field yet again. And this game was already signed, sealed, and delivered, but we would get a little greedy here, as that was going to be intercepted by the Eagles defense. But in the end, it wouldn't really matter, because we'd pick up the victory 28-0, with Adam Matthews having another fantastic performance. In surprising recruiting news, 4-star quarterback Ryan Bloom now had us the top of his list, and we had him scheduled for a week 7 visit against Boise State. We also had 3-star edge rusher Emmanuel House visited for the same game, but before we could focus on that, we had to focus on our next game at home against Wyoming. The ground game was off to a strong start for us in this game, as we crossed midfield early, but soon we're faced with a 3rd and 7, and we would not be able to convert this one. We would send the field goal unit out for a 53-yard attempt for our first points of the day, and that just barely squeaks through. It was now Wyoming's turn to try and convert a 3rd down, as they were faced with a 3rd and 8, but we were all over that check down and would force them to punt the ball away. We hadn't seen much from Adam Matthews through the air on the first drive, but he would get right to work on our second one, and he was taken off not only through the air this drive, but on the ground as well, as he'd scramble for a 1st down. 1st and goal to go from the 2, and it would be a handoff now to the senior Scottree Humphrey, and the Spartans would extend their lead to 10 points. It was the start of the second quarter now, and the Cowboys would pick up their first down, as our defense had done a good job of slowing them down in the first quarter, but that didn't seem to be the case now. Once again, Wyoming's quarterback Brian Fowler would complete a strike across the middle of the field, setting them up with a 1st and 10 from the 10, where receiver Dion DeBlanc would take it in for a touchdown. With over 3 minutes to go in the half, this was more than enough time for us to try and respond, but unfortunately unfortunately that pass would be incomplete and we would punt the ball away. With 2 big sacks on first and second down, we had Wyoming backed up to a 3rd and 23, and thankfully we would get the stop, taking the ball back over with just over 2 minutes to go. Our offense hadn't done a lot in the first half today, but this drive was looking promising for us as we were inside the 15, but on 3rd and 6, Adam Matthews wouldn't be able to escape the defensive pressure, and once again, we would have to settle for only 3 points. There was still enough time on the clock, however, for Wyoming to get down the field as Brian Fowler would escape the pressure, but he would put the football on the ground and Manu Olvera would recover it. Our senior safety, Larry Turner Gooden, the one forcing the fumble, giving us great field position and another opportunity to score right before halftime, but it wouldn't be a touchdown. Once again, we would give up a sack and would have to settle for 3 points, but the first half still wasn't over for us as on the ensuing kickoff, it would once again be our senior safety, Larry Turner Gooden, forcing a fumble. And although we didn't get a touchdown last drive, we would still get 6 points. We had to settle for 4 field goals in the first half of this game, and that was allowing Wyoming to still stay in it, as on their first drive of the second half, they would find the end zone to make it a 5-point game. That meant we needed to find the end zone this drive, but it wasn't gonna happen. Fortunately for us, our defense had our back as our senior middle linebacker Zane Carter would come away with this interception, but it would mean very little to us as our offense once again could not convert on a 3rd and long. We would have another chance right before the 4th quarter, but once again couldn't convert on 3rd and goal, but the offense was staying out on the field this time as Adam Matthews would take it in on the quarterback sneak. It was now Wyoming's turn to go for it on 4th down in the 4th quarter, and this could be a big stop for us. And we would get the big stop indeed, as now we were just looking to run out as much clock as possible. All we had to do now was kneel out the rest of the clock, and although it wasn't pretty, we would pick up the win against Wyoming. For the first time this season, a defensive player would be named player of the game, and rightfully so, as Zane Carter had a fantastic game for us today on the defensive side of things. This was the first game of the entire season that Adam Matthews hadn't thrown for over 200 yards, but I'm not too concerned about that. Unfortunately, after that week though, we dropped all the way down to 3rd on the list of 4-star quarterback Ryan Bloom, but we're still the clear number 1 for our 3-star quarterback Evan Bobo. We didn't have a ton of hours left for recruiting, but would schedule a visit for 4-star receiver Denton McFoy, and hopefully we'll have enough hours next week to schedule a recruit with Evan Bobo. For now though, it was time to get ready to go on the road and take on the Nevada Wolfpack in our last game of this episode. If we won this game today, we would not only start the season 6-0, but would already be bowl eligible, as we were getting off to a great start with John Denman taking this all the way to the house. Our defense was looking to start just as strong this game as we did on offense, but giving up a 2nd and 20 wasn't a great start. But we would finally have them backed up to a 3rd and 12 as Anthony Wolter would let one deep into triple coverage. But we were quickly faced with a 3rd down of our own and couldn't find anything as Adam Matthews would throw this one away. Adam Matthews had been off to a slow start through the air today as we were trying to get him going on this drive. And we were already moving the ball with a lot more ease this drive as we'd got inside the 20, but wouldn't be able to pick up this 1st down. Still needing points, coach would play it safe and would send the field goal unit out for 3, as now we had a 10-point lead over the Wolfpack, but they would quickly get down the field as Anthony Wolter would find Jaden Becks. And that would be a huge 43-yard pickup for Nevada as we were looking to get a 3rd down stop now. With Wolter's pass falling incomplete, they would instead have to settle for 3. Just after the 2-minute timeout, we now were driving down the field and looking to take as much time off as we could. But if we wanted anything other than a field goal, we would have to convert on 3rd down as Adam Matthews would step up and he would take this into the end zone, putting us up by 14 with only a minute 13 to go in the first half. After getting a defensive stop with just a few seconds, we had one last chance for a Hail Mary to the end zone as this would be completed and Leland Smith chucks the ball at the fans. What a way to end the first half, but I'm sure Leland Smith might see a fine for that coming soon. The Wolfpack had made their way near the red zone on their first drive as they would convert on 3rd down. And now we were looking to just try and hold them out of the end zone as Anthony Wolter would feel the pressure and would escape out the pocket and take it in himself. After our offense did absolutely nothing in the third quarter, we needed to turn things around. And we would get the fourth started off on a good note as John Denman would take this receiver pitch in for a touchdown. If we could get one more defensive stop against the Wolfpack, we would be able to run out the rest of the clock, hopefully. And finally, we would have another chance to get a third down stop here as Walter would take a deep shot to the end zone. And that would be knocked incomplete as now our defense needed one more stop on 4th and 6, but we couldn't get it as the Wolfpack would pick up the first down. Once again, now our defense with a chance to get off the field on 4th down, but we would leave the middle of the field wide open for Anthony Walter. And on 1st and goal before the 2-minute timeout, Walter would find his tight end Peter Fleck for 6. That touchdown would be too little too late though, as we'd come out in victory formation. And with this victory would start the season a perfect 6-0. We would land our first recruit of the season and 3-star tight end Dave Tuttle after that victory, as well as 3-star receiver Caleb Cieslak. Those were the 2 top prospects on our list, so I am ecstatic that we got them. And just checking in on our 3-star quarterback Evan Bobo, we were still clearly number 1 on his list. We would, however, unfortunately lose 3-star strong safety Ben Jaramillo. That brought us now to the halfway point of season number 2, and we were 6-0 on the season. That obviously was enough to put us at the top of the Mountain West Conference, just above Boise State, who we'd open up next episode against. Our next 2 games, both being against Boise State and UNLV, were looking to be our 2 toughest games of the season so far for us. And with all of our remaining recruits either visited for a schedule against Boise State or UNLV, that just adds that much more importance to those games coming up for us. Adam Matthews is off to a much better start than last season as he has thrown for over 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions in the season so far. We've had a lot more balanced approach this year to the run game with both Scottree Humphrey, who we brought in from the transfer portal, and John Dedman, a redshirt freshman, both averaging over 5 yards a carry for us. Surprisingly, our standout receiver this year has been Cooper Hawk, surprising us with 29 receptions and 6 touchdowns. Matthew Coleman having a lot better season than last year as he's already gotten a lot more targets and touchdowns throughout the season. And Leland Smith, not as productive as he was last year, but still playing a big time role for us in this offense with 3 touchdowns so far. We really thought defense was going to take a step back this season, but we seem almost even better as Larry Turner Gooden, our strong safety senior, really stepping up for us. And who I'm really excited about is our sophomore quarterback Malachi Crawford. He has 2 more years with us and has already proven to be one of the best defensive backs on our team as only a sophomore. As always though, we have a chance to lose these players in the transfer portal, but I'm not going to worry about that until the offseason, as we got the second half of season number 2 coming up next episode with our championship rematch against Boise State to kick things off.